Coming into curve one. Now sliding down through the cliffside portion of our track. Through cliffside, sliding into curve four.
Just want to remind our spectators here, just like Franklin did as we're sending our test and pilot sleds. Just be calling to sit down a little bit of rail. Don't be certainly throwing any snowballs along with the track. Don't be hanging anything over the track. Sleds will be crossing that finish line in excess of 70 plus miles an hour. We'll have designated track staff to help if it needs to be prevented from going back. 20 corners. Top speeds well over 70 miles an hour. The trainer was mentioning curve 7 is an aggressive one with over 5 Gs. We'll lay down some speed in 2 different locations to the exit of 10, that's G2. They should be around 70 miles an hour. Now we're going to come through 14. So you slide through 14, right down through 15 to 16. We call this area the chicane. This will be another area where you're hitting the speeds. And the quickest sleds will be coming down just over 70 miles an hour. And we'll come into the heart, the final corners here at Mount Van Hovenberg. It starts, doubles back around, comes underneath, across that finish line. It's shaped like a heart. Then the sled goes all the way up the outrun. Roughly 2 minutes apart for the 70 sleds. Stand by.
my goodness.
Final day of the IBSF Bobsleigh and Skeleton World Championships in Lake Placid, New York. You're looking down at Mount Van Hoevenberg as it was a week ago. Today it is brown as the sun has been out for the last couple of days and most of the snow has gone. But 2 more heats of the competitive season for our women's bobsleigh, the final event here in these 25th World Championships. So, heading into our 3rd and 4th heats, the top 3 all wear yellow jackets and drive yellow sleds. The reigning world champion, Lisa Buckwitz, with Kalicki and Fiebig behind her today. She lies in 3rd place, 43 hundredths away from the lead. In silver medal position overnight, these are the world champions from St. Moritz in 2023. Kalicki and Fiebig, the gold medalists then, and they lie just 23 hundredths away from the top of the pile. And looking for a first World Championship gold medal, Lauren Alter and Deborah Levy. So they're not world champions, but in 2022 they were the women's bobsleigh Olympic champions. And she's also been a 2-time monobob world champion. There's no question the caliber of the crew, and they lead by nearly a quarter of a second midway through the competition. So could it be that after 2 world championships in Europe, she finally gets a world championship where she won her first monobob medal, which was here, her first win here in the USA. She leads from Kalicki and Lisa Buckwitz, and then American sleds 4th, 5th and 6th. That's going to be an interesting sort out as well. And there are some tiny battles between our athletes down the rest of the finishing order. So athletes suiting up, getting ready to go. I'm Martin Haven, alongside me, having just come out of the pilot sled that opens the track, Riley T-Jack, officer on deck. So, tell us about the ice tonight. Look at the air temperature, 17 degrees. I mean, it was 7 yesterday.
And we can all feel it. All these athletes, we were actually warming up in T-shirts. And the fans are looking like it as well. This does not really feel like winter in bobsled. What I will tell you from just going on the track, it is very grippy. So as the weather increases and it gets warmer, the track doesn't hold that ice as nice and hard as it normally is, which means you actually have some more control, which means you can drive and put the sled where you want a little bit more. So this is going to be pretty interesting because a lot of the skids or things that we could see, you can almost drive yourself out of it slightly, which is not the Lake Placid that we saw 1 week ago, or even some of these girls in training just 3 or 4 days ago.
Yeah, speedy and sketchy. If you're straight here, then that's the exception rather than the rule. This is a 20-corner track where there are no straightaways. It is just bend, 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 bend. So we start our 3rd heat in the order in which they lay overnight. So the leader goes first and the last goes last. So it'll be Lauren Alter, Kalicki, Lisa Buckwitz and the rest, heading down towards Adele Nicoll, Lin Sun Wrong and Andreea Grecu at the tail of our 19 sleds.
This is a huge advantage for these sleds going first. They're going to get the freshest and best ice right now.
If you've left it for them. Lauren Alter and Deborah Levy, the Olympic champions, start their 3rd and penultimate heat of the World Championships with a lead. They must hold on to it. They can't afford one loose run. 5:38, 5:40 and now 5:41, their 3 starts.
Overall, we saw Nolte have a little slight struggle getting in the sled, but nothing too big. Like I said on this track, we won't really see a whole lot of mistakes. You still will see some skids here and there, but the pilot has a lot more control. That doesn't always mean it's faster, though.
Yeah, the more you steer, the more energy you take out of the sled, the harder you work its runners on the ice, and that causes friction, and friction slows you down.
Incredible transition, 12-13, and through the chicane, looks like she's going to shoot it pretty straight there. Really good speed for her. She's obviously setting the tone, so we'll see how she compares to everyone else. This is a pretty money run. I really can't make any critiques on anything. This is textbook. This looks like a gold medal run. Yeah,
the top 3 were 1st, 2nd and 3rd in both of the heats yesterday. The real change arounds came in 4th, 5th and 6th. That's the Team USA athletes when Alana Myers-Taylor stepped to the back of the trio from the front. Went from 4th to 6th with one loose run. And again, still, you know, any errors here are going to be brutally punished. This track takes no prisoners.
Here's where you see she kind of clipped her foot a little bit on the edge, which caused her to kind of stutter getting in, but nothing too bad. What I will say, looking at that downtime, was a 56.16. That's their fastest heat they had so far compared to yesterday.
So much for the track being slow.
That's 0.2 faster than what they did yesterday.
Riley, you're just driving better. That's all there is to it. All right.
She's going to be really happy with that run. That's going to be a hard run to beat right there.
Really is. This is where you pile on the pressure. You can't take your foot off the throat of your rivals. Kalicki and Fiebig then, the 2023 world champions, claimed gold in very different conditions in St. Moritz, where even when it's sunny, it's still -10.
Yeah.
So 5:45, 5:43. They were about 600-700s off at the start in both their getaways. I know that Leonie will be really trying to give Kim that extra turbo boost at the start.
She's an absolute powerhouse. 5:45, did what they did yesterday in the first heat, so very consistent from these ladies. But Kim can drive. And you can see there's a lot of ease through 2 to 3 there. Like I said, you have a lot of control. The sled's not really hitting out of 3 either because you can kind of place it where you want. So we won't see people lose a lot of time there. Chicane will be crucial for a lot of people, though.
Slightly higher velocity, 90 kilometers an hour compared to 89.8 for Lauren Alter. Quicker again, 70.16 miles an hour.
#1 speed she's having right now. This looks like a really solid run.
Was 2700s back when she sat down, 2300s overnight. It's back out to 2700s. She's lost speed compared to Nolter. So this is going to be, for the moment at least, second best run. Their quickest yesterday was a 56.46, and it's a 56.33. So warm ice equals fast, at least for the moment.
Now, this could be, it's their 3rd run. They've seen this track more and more, right? So there's a couple factors that can go into this, but you cannot make the excuse that the ice is slower. Now, I guarantee you these drivers overnight had a good time to study, do a lot of film review like they will with their coaches, and see where can I make up time, and also maybe a different runner choice, by the way. It is allowed in World Championships when you have 2 days of competition to change the blades on your runners. And what a lot of fans don't know is there's all ranges of sizes that you're allowed to have, from a 4.1 to a 7.4 for your runners.
Yeah. So you can go for the narrower runners, which give you more control but more friction and less speed. Fatter runners tend to pass over the ice more easily. Our reigning world champion then, Lisa Buckwitz, with Kira Lipperheide behind her. And worth pointing out again for these next 2 drivers, Lisa Buckwitz and Kaysha Love, in 2022 in the Winter Games, they were pushing sleds. Now they're world champions, both of them. Astonishing. 5.40, and that's their slowest start as well. So maybe the start area not quite as free running as it was earlier.
But they still have the fastest start. So for the 3rd heat in a row, unless someone else comes up and ties them, they will have the fastest heats, which gives Buckwitz a massive advantage over her other counterparts.
Well, she was 4,300s back. She slashed that to 3,700s back. The difference between her and Kim Kalicki is 0.2. And only 3rd best speed, so she's lost a little bit early on.
Really nice transition there. You can see that the sled now is sliding and gliding through this ice. 2nd fastest speed right now. We'll see if she can keep bringing that gap closer and closer.
It was out to 49, out to 5,700. She's not going to move up. She will be the 3rd of the 3. 56.39.
And that's her fastest as well. Yesterday, her fastest downtime was a 56.57. Again, all 3 athletes so far are having faster runs. So you might have more control on the sled, which makes you not make as many mistakes. But overall, we should, if we see this trend continue, we're going to see a lot of people increase their downtime.
So what we're seeing here is effectively more control, fewer skids, better downtime, which is the argument against fatter runners.
Right.
So, and yes, it's milder conditions. The ice isn't quite so marble hard. It won't support, you know, a tiny contact patch. That'll dig in too much. But I always say, the less you skid, the faster you're going to go. Now then, Kaysha Love, the world champion last week in the women's monobob. What an astonishing race she had. Absolutely untouchable. And Jasmine Jones behind her has been firing her off the top here. 3rd and 4th fastest. They're right in the mix with everything.
This is a really great duo right here. Jasmine Jones, one of our top athletes for USA, pushing, and the Air Force program has just been dominating ever since. Kaysha coming off a World Championships win, feeling really good about this track and really good about what this combo can do here.
Yeah, she's able somehow to quieten the voices in her head and really focus. Even when she was leading the World Championships for the first time, she managed to go out and just perform, which is astonishing sang-froid. She's very impressive in and out of the sled.
Just like her and Buckwitz, like you said, they are new drivers, and we talked about this yesterday. So much of the sport has to do with the mental aspect of it. This is a scary sport when you make a mistake, and there are consequences, especially in a two-woman, when you have you and your teammate behind you. You want to take care of them. You want to give them a good ride, and you kind of put a lot of pressure on yourself for that.
We've seen a few crashes in the four-man race so far. It's been clean, but a big skid down through the chicane, and that is going to cost her speed lower down. So she's gone out to over a second behind the leader. That means that the podium is looking more secure. It's going to require the German drivers to make big mistakes to give away medals. 56.74. Now that's no indication that the USA haven't got the kit or the performance, and they're not on home ice. They've got that, but the Germans have more experience, more engineering depth, more backup, and a bigger sled program as well.
Here's that 12-13 transition. It just clips her bunk just a little bit here, but this is what costs her the speed, is a chicane. You'll see that she goes just a little bit sideways, but when this ice is soft, and that's uphill as you can see, that kills your speed. So here you can see the runners just turn ever so slightly. Now, she has some control where she's able to keep that back on track, but with soft ice, that's going to be tough. But big smile, these ladies are sitting USA 1, which is a race in and of itself, but not if Kaillie has something to say about it.
Well, because you've got, I have no idea how many Olympic and World Championship medals Kaillie Humphries and Alana Myers-Taylor have got between them, but it's a load. Kaillie, a four-time world champion in women's bobsleigh. She was the champion here in 2012, the last time the worlds were in Lake Placid. 5.54, and she's such a tough competitor. Gave birth to a son Alden in July in the summer of 24 and was back on ice by November.
She's an incredible athlete, and she had to make a really tough decision. You know, she decided to go with the IBSF program, and thank goodness it was successful. She has a beautiful son she loved, but she was not going to let that prevent her from competing this season, and she's done amazing. She knows that her start is at a deficit, obviously not been that far off, but boy, her driving, #1 fastest speed, that is what Kaillie Humphries does.
And she loves a driver's track. Her favorite track on the planet is Altenburg. This must be the next nearest thing. Second best speed. She's closing in on Kaysha Love. She's going to jump up ahead of her teammate. You'll see it at the line. She's up to 4th on the splits in the heart. So this is a really strong third heat from Kaillie Humphries. 56.53.
Just a tenth faster than her teammate, Kaysha Love, which puts them right there. But with a 10th, anything can happen. That's what we see here with Kaillie. She had really, really good speeds despite her slower start at the top, but she knows that she can drive and always make up for it. She always drives herself better than what her start is.
And she'll follow Alana Myers-Taylor's trajectory last year when she came back from childbirth, and how much she progressed over the season and then into this year. And Kaillie will be very confident of being as strong as ever for the Games. Overall,
this was a really good run for Kaillie. We saw her get out and just give a little up and down. Not too mad about it. Could have been a little bit better. I wouldn't have said this was a perfect run. You could see some ice, you know, there, that video. But overall, I think a better run than what she did yesterday. Really good downtime. And anytime you move up, you know, you're going to celebrate that. You're going to be excited.
And MREM behind her. Behind Alana Myers-Taylor, Lolo Jones, retired after 2022, a former world champion break woman. She's back, and apparently age is no handicap. Lolo is still fast on track and on ice. 5.51 getaway. They've outstarted Kaillie Humphries. They're only a 10th behind Kaysha Love and Jasmine Jones.
And third fastest speed, showing a lot of velocity when they get in the sled. That's what Lolo provides. Lolo was obviously an incredible track athlete coming into the sport of bobsled. Puts a lot of velocity in that, and Alana is a great athlete as well. Don't count her out in her pushing too.
Yep, no, she's really come back hard after having her second child a couple of years ago. Second best speed, again the US. the more you know of the track, the better you adapt to the changeable conditions. It's astonishing how well the Germans have adapted because they're really on the back foot when it comes to local knowledge.
Yeah, 5th fastest speed right here. But to your point, we've driven as USA athletes this track so many times. We've seen Lake Placid ice like this before, so we know how to adjust. The Germans are doing really well not having that advantage, but let's be real, they have a lot of bobsled
really
IQ.
Do. Yeah. And Mark Vandenberg building the US sleds solo in the workshops here at the MUSA program, supported by their sponsors who provide the steel, who provide the carbon fiber, who provide the cows. It's a massive undertaking to equip the entire team, male and female, with these 2-seat sleds.
So in Alana's run here, we see that she is only 500ths ahead, or 500ths behind Kaysha Love, which means she decreased that gap with a really good run that she had right here.
So the US sleds are covered by 1500ths of a second. Now, on some tracks, that's an insurmountable odds. Here, it's a mistake.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a skid in the chicane. That's 1500ths right there. And there are 19 other opportunities to fall over your own feet. So, top 6 done. Best of the rest is Melanie Hasler and Maswoma Kambundi behind her. 8th fastest push in the first heat, 10th fastest with a 5:57 in the second.
5:55 again, tying what they did in Heat 1. They're going to like that. As you see here, she had a little bit of a tap outside of 1. That is going to hurt her. Really smooth 2 to 3, but that tap right outside of 1, you get all this momentum with a strong push, and you just zapped a lot of energy out straight away.
7th at the start. 7th on the split times, bottom right of your screen, past the running clock. She's in the red.
We're going to see a lot of these smooth transitions here. We were seeing a lot early on in last week from a lot of like the 7, 8, 9, just heads throwing 12 here, but the ice is so soft, you're not going to see that today, so you have to be perfect. Here in the chicane, little tap, 6th fastest speed right now. Overall, pretty good run, but again, that little mistake out of 1 is absolutely going to haunt her throughout this whole run. Overall, really nice run, though, for Melanie Hasler. We're really happy to see her come back and be competing this week after illness was holding her back a bit.
Yeah, she had to pull out of the monobob worlds last weekend. She literally couldn't get out of bed. So there's been a lot of it going around, and some of the athletes who are competing today are still struggling. She feels a lot more healthy, but was as weak as a kitten last week after training and just could not race. And you know it's bad when you can't show up for the World Championships.
Yeah, she was very sick because of it, and you know that. But the really strong team here at the start. Melanie Hasler is a great athlete with a great big man behind her. They got in really clean and quiet, coming right nicely into 1. Here was that mistake you see, though. She drove a little bit too hard, which was on a little bit too high, which just pushed her over, sucked her onto that wall, which is the reason why she probably fell back a little bit more. But overall, other than that, great run by Melanie Hasler. Big smile for her and her brakeman right there. Everyone knows one more run.
Yep. Katty Beierl next with Christania Williams, Jamaican Olympic medalist, on the back of the sled. They trained together in the same gym in Austria, and somehow Katty Beierl suggested to her and managed to persuade her to come bobsledding. A very different world.
Their start time, 5:42, 200s faster than what they did yesterday. They're really going to like that. This team is strong at the start, and Katty's been driving incredibly well. 4th
quickest start in the 3 runs so far, and that's such a boost for a driver like Katty Beierl. To have that speed means the engine runs well, and it gives you an opportunity to compete.
Especially with this field. This women's 2-woman is full of incredible athletes at the start, and Katty is definitely earning her right being competitive in those top 5, top 4.
Pulling ahead of Melanie Hasler at the moment on the split. She's the 8th sled down, only the 8th speed, so slowest speed below the chicane, but up to 7th place. It's going to be close, though.
Is it going to be at the finish? How close is it going to get? Oh, she just falls back by 100th of a second.
It was close. It was close. She nearly had Hasler, but she lost speed down below the heart, or in the heart.
They have 1300ths already at the top over Melanie. Their start is that strong. To only be 100th at the bottom, oof, it's going to be close, isn't it? So heat number 4.
Well, that's a dead heat going into the final run. You know, 100th, you can't possibly see it or judge it.
Oh, it looks like her brakeman pulled the sled out a little bit of the groove. So for anyone who's not familiar, there's these grooves that obviously keep the bobsled on track. The brakemen, when they hit it, they're bringing all this power forward. If you lift up or anything, that sled comes out. That's energy that's not going forward, but coming up, which hurts. And we're talking thousandths of a second at the start.
Yeah, exactly. Up or sideways is not forward, as any fool know. Melissa Lothol's next for Canada. First of our Canadian sleds, a trio of them. And she's paired up again, as so often, with Leah Walkenden.
Really strong duo here.
Yeah, it starts on the front handle, but it just looked like the sled wasn't moving. The handle came right into her chest, and it wasn't maybe quite the synchronous hit. 560, they had a 58 and a 61 yesterday.
So pretty consistent with what they did yesterday, but as the ice is softer, the sled isn't going to be moving as much as you really want in the grooves. But really great start there for Leah and Mel. Mel, again, we talked about, is one of those athletes that was a brakeman, now driving really well, really familiar with the Lake Placid track, being in North America.
Took time away after the 22 games, came back last year to regain the love of driving and regain her World Cup spot, and has been competing for Canada in the World Cup. Top tier of sliding this year. Nice chicane, 4th best speed.
Double hit chicane, 4th best speed, though. This looks like a really clean and flowy run for Mel, which is really what you want to see. Really good speeds for Melanie, too, right now.
She was only 1600s behind Katty Beierl at the line, but that has opened up a little. So 57.27 compared to 56.95 of Katty Beierl. So she's quarter of a second slower, 2200 slower. And that might leave her vulnerable to attack from behind from Romania's Andreea Grecu, who was in 10th place overnight.
Now, we will start to see this track deteriorate slightly. You can see when you're looking at it, you can see all these runner lines and all these different lines that people are taking. But right there, she had that little bit of a skid. She's trying to get her runners back on track. Again, she has that control to do so. But here's what costs her some time at the bottom. The 1-2 chicane hit. When this ice is soft, you can really put it where you want to a little bit more, so we should see people shoot it. But for Leah and Melissa, great job, ladies. Let's see if they can hang on to the Canadian 1 spot, too.
Yeah, lots of fans down there supporting home athletes, Canadian athletes, and all sorts of other nations. Now, Andreea Grecu for Romania, with Teodora Vlad behind her. And Andreea, highly experienced now as a driver. This is actually her 9th World Championships in women's bob. She's done 3 as a brakewoman. She also competed in monobob last week. She's raced in a team competition as a brakewoman and in the 4-man World Championships as a brakewoman as well. 5:58 getaway. That's actually their slowest so far after 2 a 56 and a 55. In fact, 2 55s.
Not too bad. Anytime at the start, you want to be around 2 to 300s for consistency. So they're within that, but again, is the track slowing down? That there's sometimes other factors than just you, but also this is day 2, last day for a lot of people. 6th fastest speed, though. Grecu is one of the top drivers in this field, has a lot of experience, maybe not so much here in North America, but definitely knows how to drive a sled well.
Yeah, good speed. Whoa, but wavy through the chicane, skidding and tapping in everything in sight. 7th best speed. Now, does she close on Melissa Lotholt? She's ahead of the Canadian sled on the splits. The gap was not big after 2 heats, and she is ahead.
Wow. 300ths of a second.
There you go. So we've got 1 spot to be decided by 100th. We've got another spot to be decided by 300ths. So Hasler and Beierl 100th apart. Grecu 300s ahead of Lotholt. And I know that Melissa will definitely want that place
She
back.
would have been ahead by more if it wasn't for this mistake here in chicane, causing her to go a little bit sideways. She was able to get back on track, but she came out of 14, had that initial hit, which brought her into the other wall and brought her to the other. So it's a 3-peat hit, which is just taking time out of the sled. For her to still be 300ths ahead is great. She's super happy with that. Anytime you move up, it's always a good thing.
There you go. First 10 sleds down in Heat 3 of 4 of the Women's Bobsleigh World Championships here in Lake Placid. So heading outside our top 10, we get to our second Canadian sled. Cynthia Appiah, again, former brakewoman turned driver, hugely experienced, but a newcomer to the team for this season, Skylar Sieben, came in as a collegiate track and field, university track and field athlete, and has been a big part of this team's progress. 5:63, and they had a 55 and a 59 yesterday.
Yeah, they're not going to love that they dropped that much at the start.
Ooh, and she's not going to love that big skid 2 to 3 either.
No, but got it back on track there. overall, this combo does work pretty well. Cynthia did have a lot of success in the mono driving, so she knows how to drive Lake Placid. Here, it's also about beating your teammate. She wants to be ahead of Melissa. 5th fastest speed right now coming down. We will see if that changes because of these slight mistakes, but overall, not too bad of a run here. Through chicane, keeps it nice and straight, but still 11th fastest speed now. She did drop in her speed because of those mistakes.
Once you've lost the speed here, particularly when it's not as hard as marble, it's going to be tough to get it back. 57.20. Well, that's 27 hundredths faster than her second heat yesterday. So the track is still definitely holding up. And the gaps that you're seeing and the positions that may be getting lost, you can point back to the driving errors and say, well, that's why that was, and this is one of them.
Here was that mistake. She skid just a little bit right there, and coming out of 12, she comes off. She's high, which forces her early on to 13 and just pushes her away slightly. But here through the chicane, she shot it. It looks really nice. This is what you want to see. You see her runners move slightly. That's her controlling the sled just a little bit to make sure it stays on nice and straight. Big smile from her. She's always animated. She's always really excited. Great job, Sen.
Well, we saw Deborah Annen's brother Tim competing for Switzerland in the 4-man competition this morning. She is going with Mara Morell behind her in the women's bob. And Deborah and Tim both offspring of Martin Annen, one of Switzerland's big success stories in bobsleigh in the early 2000s.
And this is a close race between the one ahead of her and behind her. Just 500s and 400s separate these 3 athletes. So she's really going to want to have a good run here.
5:63, same start time as Cynthia Appiah, so the gap remains constant.
It's going to come down to who can drive better in this heat and hold a position.
In this heat. See what he did there. So, yeah, 12th out. She's 12th on the splits. If you watch the number on the right-hand side, if it goes up to 11, that's when she's got ahead of Cynthia on the current running clock. 10th best speed. Appiah was a little quicker.
Nice run overall, really good transition here. That will propel her more and more for her speed. As she comes through the chicane, oh, she's nice and quiet. That is going to help her gain more time. All
right, 11th best speed. Watch for the clock on the right-hand side. If it changes in the heart, it doesn't yet. Is she going to be
close at the finish?
Yeah, Cynthia 3.05 back. She's dropped 2 tenths.
Wow, I thought it was going to be closer than that.
Yeah, so actually 1,600 slower than Cynthia Appiah on that run. So Deborah Annen finding very different conditions. It's not been as soft ice as this or warm conditions as this in any of the training so far.
Really strong start for them here. What's really interesting, they had the same start as Cynthia and almost identical speeds as Cynthia. It's just, we see a 2 tenths of a difference.
Yep. And it might just be that the runner choice isn't quite what they need, and maybe that's why the lines are clean, because she's got a little bit of more control, more contact with the ice, and that brings more friction. When you're talking about 400 or 500s, it's a huge difference. So the 3rd Canadian sled, Bianca Ribi with Niamh Hockey behind her. Oh, look at that. Lyndon Rush has abandoned the beanie and gone full bush hat. That's how warm it is. Justin Cripps stays beanie, but Lyndon's gone full outback.
5:64 here, not their fastest. About 400 to 500 slower than what they did yesterday, but they're only 300ths off of Deborah Annen as she comes down. So this is also going to be really tight between can she move up to 12 or can she maintain this 13?
300ths overnight, plus 100th of deficit from the start. So there's 400ths of a second in it with Deborah Annen. Don't look at the gap between her and Lauren Olcher and Deborah Levy. She's looking at trying to move up and claw her way closer to the top 10.
High out of 12 there, causing her to hit. She is going to lose speed. It's going to be tough for her to move up with that.
Didn't have a bad chicane, but maybe not good enough. Deborah Annen 3.26 behind at the line, 3.3 back already for Ribi.
She just doesn't have the speed either.
Not going to get there, so she 57.74. Again, that's 3,800 slower than Deborah Annen.
She's just overall about 4/10 back now. She's not going to be too pleased with that, but she does have a lot of support here. Both of these athletes' parents are here. They have their big fat heads cheering them on loud. Here's a crucial mistake. She got way too high up in 12, which just threw her off, had her hit before 13, pushed late, but that sucks so much out of the sled. That dropped her at least 2 to 3 tenths, which is what we can see here, and crushed her speed.
And then bouncing there as she came over the lip out of the chicane as well. You go over the brow and head back downhill once more. So not the ideal third heat, and that maybe leaves the door open for the next couple of sleds. Margo Bach of France and Brianna Walker of Australia. They're only 800ths apart and just 1200ths behind Bianca Ribi.
And that's what makes us so exciting. You may not be in the medals, but you are still in a tight bobsled race, and that's what makes it so exciting, seeing these athletes give everything they have regardless. What can you be in the world in this season, this year? What ranking can you get?
So Margo Bach, Carla Seneschal started 63 in both heats, 5.70. So maybe the ice just is not quite giving them speed at the start.
We're seeing a lot of athletes slow down here at the bottom half. And when we go into the next heat, it's going to be reverse order. I'm really surprised if the top sleds are going to struggle at the start as well.
Well, let's see. 12th best speed from the 14th sled.
Margo is a phenomenal driver. She had a really clean start getting in the sled. They're really nice and smooth. She tries to keep these lines really nice, put together. They just struggle a little bit. They're a little bit of a smaller team here, which means sometimes you have to put more weight in the sled, which makes it heavier, which hurts you even more at the start. But great line through the chicane, 8th fastest speed right here. Let's see how much she can move up.
Right, she's up to 13. She's picked off Bianca Ribi at the moment. If she has a clean heart, how close does she get to Deborah Annen in 12th place? And the answer is she's 13th, 3.44 back. Deborah Annen, 3.26 back, 1800ths.
That's close.
That is an achievable gap, isn't it? And she comes ahead of Bianca Ribi by 23. But again, you could give 2300ths away in a heartbeat here, so nothing is set in stone.
And everyone's still in it here. So overall for Margo, she comes out of 7 onto 8. Really nice transition here, and 8 to 9. She's just gliding. Now you'll see some ice just sprinkle off. That's because of how warm it is. That's going to be almost every sled. Anytime 400 plus pounds comes down, it's going to spritz and throw stuff all over. But her chicane was absolute money. She did really great driving. She should be really happy and proud with that, and she looks like it.
Yep, she does. Now, Brianna Walker with Chiara Rodinghis, both of them have been ill for the last 10 days. And spoke to Brie on the final day of training. She said, I don't think I've ever felt this rough getting into a sled this week. And she's much better than she was last week. So, yeah, they're really pushing below par, feeling below par, even on a hot day. Pierre Luders yells them off. He's Spence in the green jacket, former bobsledder like Pierre. He's now the head of the Aussie Federation. 5.60.
So that is in between what they did yesterday. So this is the first pairing that we see. Now, there's a lot of factors that go into this. Talking to Brie and her team, my heart goes out to them. I know they're not feeling great. It's so hard. You train all year for these 2 days, and you just don't feel at your best physically. But mentally, they are resilient. Brie's giving everything she has, and I really hope that they have a really good, nice run here.
15 sled down with that faster push. They've already overhauled Margo Bach of France at the start. But they're ahead of Bianca Ribi on the splits as well. So Ribi looks like she might drop 2 if Brie can keep this tidy.
Let's see what she does to the chicane. Looks like she's going to shoot it with just a small tap. It's not going to touch her speed too much.
Yeah, she slipped back out behind Ribi though. I think she's come back up.
Oh, this is going to be close at the finish too.
It's super close. If we're comparing the 2 sleds, it'd be within a 100th. She doesn't make it. 200ths of a second.
Wow.
Yeah.
200ths of a second. Now, she did have better speed than Ribi overall and a better downtime. That puts herself still right in there to still move up a spot if she can have a good run. I wouldn't say that this was her cleanest run at all. She's not going to be too pleased, but it wasn't too terrible. Here on 7-8, we see that she gets some late height here, way up there and coming down, which you can see her brakeman causes her to come up and come down. And for anyone who doesn't know bobsled, the brakeman is not like Cool Runnings, moving side to side. That is the sled, and the force is doing that for her. She can't control that, coming up and down. One more, Brie, you got this.
And then you can lie in bed all day tomorrow going, which is probably what she wants more than anything else. So, 15 down, and we have our final 4 sleds in Heat 3. Kim Uran for Korea, John Yoon-ji. And They are, where are we talking here? They're just under 3/10 behind the Aussie sled.
81 start. Yesterday they did 78.80, so they were right there. This is a strong combo that, again, is pretty familiar with this track, sliding NAC here. And then Kim, even though we've seen her on and off the circuit, she is an Olympian. She does know how to drive the sport of bobsled.
Yeah, raced in the Olympic Games for Korea in 2018 in Pyeongchang. And then, yeah, as you said, has been in and out, hasn't really been a World Cup competitor at the top level since then. 16th fastest start, 16th on the splits.
Really nice lines, though. I was talking to her earlier. I said, Uran, give me something fun to talk about you. And she said, when I was starting the sport, I was so terrified. My coach would always have to buckle my helmet because I couldn't get myself to do it. I wanted to make sure I was safe. So this is a dangerous sport, ladies and gentlemen, but it is one that is fun and full of thrill.
Yes, it absolutely is. The adrenaline ride to end them all, 57.62.
So overall, on that downtime for her, she was in 15th place, even though she remains in 16th. So that's a good heat for her to close a gap.
Well, she was 2900ths behind Brianna Walker. She's actually slipped away a little to 3200ths, but not a bad run.
When she came off of their 3, because the ice is warm, she's hitting and then she's sticking just a little bit. And then here through chicane, you can see a little bit of stuff in the track, unfortunately, but just a small tap there. Coming out of 17, this sets you up. You see a little bit of her head whip really fast. She hung on there a little bit too long, forcing her to drive hard out of 18. But overall, pretty good run.
Big Bruce Tasker, former Olympic brakeman and driver for Team GB, and helping out with Adele Nicoll and Ashley Nelson. Now, this sled was driven in the 2-man race and crashed quite hard last week, and it is basically the super glue special at the moment. It's gaffer taped and glued back together, so
yeah, you can see some of the marks, unfortunately.
Yeah, not quite the sled that it would have been, but with Ashley Nelson behind her, a Commonwealth champion 4x100 meter sprinter. Adele, Commonwealth champion in shot put, 5:69. Was talking to her at lunchtime. She said, look, I just feel like I'm embarrassing myself here, letting everybody down. I said, no, just put a smile on your face and go out and have fun in the last 2 competitive runs of the year.
It's so hard when you put so much pressure on yourself. 7th fastest speed, great job, Adele, driving. She is a great driver, and you never want to see anyone doubt your ability here. She has driven on this track. She has been really successful, but she is the only female British slider representing her nation. And so you feel that pressure of, I just want to perform. I don't want people who believe in me to look at this and not be proud. But what she doesn't know is we are all so proud of her. She's driving 3rd fastest speed right now, shoots the chicane. Adele, you are making everyone proud regardless, but especially on this run.
Great run from Adele Nicoll. This will put the smile on her face. Yeah. And she was the silver medalist in the World Cup season finale here with all the other top sleds in the competition. So it's not the driver. There's her mum.
And I tell you what,
she's been to all the races this year.
Adele may not have moved up spaces there, but she had one of the fastest speeds. 5+ sleds ahead of her. She has a faster speed than that. Run was really, really good for her. So all she's hoping now is to get down the track, feel good about it, and have runs. And there, we've got to see a good smile on her face. That's what we want to see.
You can't end the season going, you just got to go out and do it. And coming from track and field, she's not used to having a mechanical object that can affect you. Shot put doesn't do that.
And look good. They're happy. We love that because that was a great run. They put it together. Again, regardless of what you can do, if you can end your last day of bobsled with the season on a good note, you want to. Exactly.
You want to go into the summer with a smile on your face. Lin Sun Wrong of Chinese Taipei with Liang Yuqi behind her. This is our penultimate sled in the 3rd heat. And these 19 sleds will all go through to the 4th and final run of the season. 5:83 getaway. She's new to bobsleigh, having come in from luge.
So she knows the track, but she's just seeing it from a little bit of a different angle. Luge is the one where you're laying down and your feet are first, and here on the bobsled, obviously a little bit of a different perspective, but she knows how a track operates and runs. She's just trying to do it in the sport of bobsled.
Yeah, Chinese Taipei with a tiny development program. So this is all part of starting to build up towards the 26, but also particularly towards the 30 and 34 games. That's the sort of time you're looking at to really get a good, strong team together.
And it's awesome to see small nations come together. They all work together and try to support one another with equipment and traveling and not just having a lot of hands. And so that's when it really comes into play that this sport has so many intricacies and so many people so excited and helping each other. And so it's amazing to see.
Yeah, big network of athletes. And whether you are first in the field or last in the field, if you go and ask one of the top drivers, I'm having trouble with 5 or 7 or whatever, they'll tell you what they're doing. Have you tried doing this? Have you tried doing that? Because they want the sport to continue growing after they've gone.
We all do, and we all understand that we do a sport that is insane and crazy and tough, and we want to help each other. No one wants to see anyone crash or fail or get hurt, honestly.
And nobody could drive like a world champion on their first day, and they all remember that. They all remember the struggle of trying to work it out, and they'll remember somebody who helped them and taught them, not necessarily even from their own team. For Chinese Taipei, for Thailand, you know, that goes a long way. Ask questions, they will tell you. So for Thailand, Andreea Grecu, the driver, and Phaitong Wanakot, the brakewoman.
And what they're going to look for today is, can they beat what they did yesterday? Can they compile good run after good run, good push? Oh, little bit of struggle getting in there, but got back on track.
Well,
597, still managed to have a really good start despite just a little bit of struggle getting in the sled.
A 96 and 297, so they're doing what the leaders are trying to do, which is get the same force into the sled every time, and they're doing a great job. 3 runs covered by 100th at the start.
And if people don't want to say that bobsled pilots are athletes, I beg to differ when you're pushing on a bar and jumping in sideways, trying to maneuver over and then shoot your feet into. So oftentimes pilots do struggle from time to time, even some brakemen or men in the 4-man when they have to load into this thing.
Well, they're sprinting over speed downhill on ice and then leaping into something. Give it a try back home. 19th speed, 19th down time for Andreea Grecu. But again, as with Chinese Taipei, this is the tiniest tip of what might become quite a large iceberg, because these women and the men who competed in the 2-man and the 4-man are going to be a very different kind of sports star in Thailand. There's going to be an awful lot of Thai viewers who will see this on the news and on TV and go, what on earth is this? I don't know if Cool Runnings is a Christmas film in Thailand like it is in most other countries, but yeah, this is going to be a very different experience. And as you said, just so easy to catch your foot. We saw that in the men's race. Some of the most experienced drivers struggling to get in.
But incredible recovery right there. She got right back in. She had a really good run. She's only really a 10th off of what she did yesterday, which overall is pretty good. She's becoming consistent. She's learning. I think she'll, try to get in a little bit better next run, but she's having fun. She'll be the first sled we see. She's going to come down and go right back up.
And the love is there, definitely. They have been infected by the disease. So Thailand completes the 3rd and penultimate run. Lara Nolter and Deborah Levy will be last to go in Heat 4 because they are our current leaders. 3rd of 4 heats completed in the Women's Bobsleigh World Championships. And it will be the Olympic champions who go out last. Nolter there looking for her first ever World Championship gold in women's bobsleigh. So Nolter, Kalicki, Buckwitz. Then in the American camp, Humphries now leads from Love and Myers-Taylor. Mel Hasler, Katty Beierl, look at that, 100th apart, then a couple of hundreds to the next pair. And then Deborah Annen ahead of Margo Bach, Bianca Ribi, and she's just 200s ahead of Brianna Walker. So lots and lots to keep us entertained in the 4th and final heat.
Make sure you turn in for our last and final heat of World Championships Heat 4, where all these women are going to put everything they have on the ice for their final run of this amazing season.
And that will be at 14:30 local, 18:30 GMT. That's in just over 40 minutes. Join us then. Bye for now.